Welcome.
Hello.
We're going to do a brief introduction. I'm Sarah Scott, and I'm the director of the Communications Center.
I'm Kyron Henderson, and I'm a communication coach in our communications center.
I'm Jonathan Tebow, and I'm a coach in the Communications Center.
And I'm Natalie Esquiar, work in Student Affairs and Career Services.
It's nice to meet you all.
You too. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
I'm a third-year dietetics student at Arkansas State University, and I want to be a registered dietitian that works with low-income families. Currently, I've been working on sexual assault awareness and different campaigns on my campus to educate students on sexual assault on campus. And in my free time, I like to dabble in photography and I play the ukulele.
So we're just going to ask you a few questions, and you'll be fielding questions from all four of us up here, and just let us know if something is unclear, if you'd like us to rephrase. Jonathan, would you like to ask the first question?
Yeah, first, now that you described yourself about it, why do you think you deserve a Truman Scholarship?
Because I have had experiences with food insecurity myself while I was growing up, I can accurately represent low-income families in the public sector, advocating for the resources that they need, as well as the form that they should come in. Most of the time, not to generalize, but there are individuals who represent low-income families who don't understand what food insecurity is like, and they don't understand what it's like to live in a low-income home. So if I were given the Truman Scholarship, I could pursue my higher educational degrees and then represent these people more accurately and efficiently.
Why do you think this policy is necessary in today's society?
My policy is to incorporate local agriculture into school systems to provide fresh fruits and vegetables to school children. Unfortunately, one in every 4 children in Arkansas are food insecure, and that number is very devastating. We're second in the nation, and my policy is to address that and to provide more nutrient-dense foods in the school systems, which is one of the number 1 lines of defense against malnourishment in children, so that they can get the nutrients that they need to thrive.
What would be your alternative life plan if the one you have charted does not work out for you?
I've always been really passionate about prison reform. I am pretty well-spoken, and I have had a lot of experience representing individuals on my campus. So I would feel qualified and confident in my ability to advocate for prison reform to be more about rehabilitation instead of punishment.
I apologize. We're going from the first list first. Is that?
No, whatever. I think we've already skipped out of it, so.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, because I typically go off script.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let me ask you, mentioned that 1 in 4 children in Arkansas is food insecure. Is that children 18 and under?
Yes.
And Arkansas is second to which state?
Mississippi.
Okay. So if you were going to go into a local school and talk about your proposal to someone who's never seen it, how would you give them kind of a 2-minute version of your proposal?
I think I would stick to the basics and the 3 main benefits of my proposal, which would, number 1, provide the most nutrient-dense food options to children. Number 2, it would stimulate the local economy. And number 3, it would actually lower the cost per meal for the school, and it would keep them within budget and give them more room to invest in other areas.
Leadership has so many different meanings to different people, and depending on who you ask. But what does leadership mean to you?
To lead someone is to ignite the motivation within themselves to get it done. It's not forcing them to complete a task or micromanaging everything they do. It's showing them through action and through encouragement that they have their own motivations and reasons to complete the task and give them the desire to complete it themselves.
So do you consider yourself a leader? And in what way where have you seen that evident in your life?
Yes, I think my leadership traits have come up in almost every area of my life, whether it be professional or academic. Just to give an example, I did lead that sexual assault campaign on campus. I led several different students. I think we had 20 that helped lead it, and then we had about 80 show up consistently, as well as several students passing by and taking surveys. And then I used that information to bring it to the chancellor and support a proposal for more safety measures on our campus. And I think that initiative really demonstrates my leadership.
Can you speak to those safety measures that you recommended?
Yes, we got parking passes for on-campus employees that work at night so that they don't have to walk, they can drive. And we had the chancellor as well as the different law enforcement officials go around the campus and ensure that all the lighting was still working, and if there was anything that was broken, then it was fixed.
Thank you.
Okay. So about your policy, can you describe the main problem that your proposal is trying to solve?
Yes. A major issue with school systems is that there's more pressure now for schools to turn a profit when it comes to school lunches, and so they use food service companies to buy their products from because it's a lot cheaper. Unfortunately, those food products are very processed and are high in sodium and high in sugar and fat and whatnot. So although there are laws and regulations in place such as the National School Lunch Program and the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act that keeps those standards to where it's like appropriate for children, I think that my proposal states that if we use local agriculture, then those products will be fresh, they will be fruits and vegetables, there will be more options for children, and we're increasing the amount of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants in their diet.
Okay, and so, so in using the local farms, how do you propose to implement that into the program?
So most of the time, schools use a bidding process to choose what food service they will vend with, and allowing schools to choose local farms and getting into contact with them, whether they be represented by brokers or manufacturer representatives, they can represent them, and we can have a more flexible bidding process where they can pick the local farms even though they're not the lowest bid, because the nutritional benefits outweigh the immediate cost.
Okay, and not judging, cafeteria workers in general. Most of them are, they're low paid, they're not very skilled, and most of the food is heat served, like you said, it's high in sodium, it's pre-processed food. So how do you propose to train these workers up, or hire new workers for that matter? Is it really cost beneficial? How are you going to train those? And because they're not trained to cook processed, like raw processed foods. So how do you propose that?
I guess it depends on the facility. Currently, I am interning at Valley View Elementary, and those food service workers are employed through Aramark, which is the food service company that they purchase from. And so they're already trained by their food service company. If you were working with a school that just hired the food service workers on their own, they can be trained by a third party, if you will, that could come in. And yes, it seems at the time that the upfront cost to train and to get started is overwhelming. However, over time, the cost per meal has been proven that it decreases, as well as the nutritional benefits will outweigh the costs, and that most children that would have developed a chronic illness or a disease would not, and it would be avoided because of the nutrient-dense meals that they're being served.
Has there been any success stories that have been found in the research that you've looked at?
Yes, I just read a Business Insider article that referenced USDA's website and their food and nutrition service, where there are several farm-to-school solution schools in the United States that are implementing what I've proposed for Arkansas, and they have seen their cost per meal go down over time.
Can you give me a specific place where this is being implemented?
I can't. I want to say Chicago, but I can double check afterwards.
Okay. So one of the things that I would be concerned about is when First Lady Obama put into plans the school nutrition, I remember hearing anecdotally, well, my kids aren't going to eat a salad for lunch, and now they're going hungry, and then they get to the end of the day and they're starving. Mm-hmm. So for children who have not been exposed to, especially in food insecure locations, they may not have ever been exposed to fresh produce and fresh vegetables. And so how do you propose to implement this in school districts where children are very used to eating chicken nuggets and pizza every day and may not eat a meal with fresh zucchini and squash?
Right. This can be approached in several different ways. The first thing I would suggest is knowing that while the immediate introduction, they might be opposed. The same article that I referenced earlier noticed in New York, after they had been introducing new fruits and vegetables to children, the consumption rate actually went up. So giving them time to get used to it, for one, will also be helpful. Second of all, having the adult role models that they're around all the time, teachers, food service workers and whatnot, their parents, having them express that they approve and that they enjoy the fruits and vegetables will also persuade children to eat it. They're pretty well influenced by the adults in their life. Third of all, serving it in creative ways is very important. For example, the school I'm interning at, we just did a kick to get them to eat more celery by doing ants on a log. We did sun butter instead of peanut butter because peanut butter is an allergen. And then we put raisins on it, and they loved it, and they all ate it, and even though they normally wouldn't have eaten celery. So there are creative solutions to that problem.
So let me ask you a follow-up question to that. You said consumption increased in you know how long it took for that consumption to increase?
The act was written in 2012 and then actually started the academic school year of 2014, and then that article was written in 2016, so I would assume 2 years. Yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted to follow up on that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're talking about educating the parents and such. So yeah, so a lot of parents, I read from your policy, you're talking about monthly forum and sending pamphlets home. So a lot of what parents do, and I'm guilty of it too. I've gotten a pamphlet and I'm like, okay. Yep.
Straight in the trash.
So besides pamphlets, how do you propose that maybe another way of trying to engage parents and let them know about nutrition and stuff?
There can be ways to approach them, physically, one-on-one, trying to contact them maybe when they come pick their kids up from school or dropping them off, having more breakfast with parents where they can come in and see what their kids are being served and the difference and how important it is to feed your children nutrient-dense foods. If they're unavailable for whatever reason, there can be different announcements sent home. I realize that maybe if that's not being read, we can try different solutions. As far as I think I had mentioned previously that, not in this interview, but before I got here, sorry, there's something in my throat. Sorry. No, I'm good. That sometimes parents just don't see the importance. Okay, I'm gonna water. I'm so sorry. I literally have something in my throat. I'm so sorry. I think I breathed in dust.
That would happen to me too. So.
All right. So sometimes parents don't really understand how serious nutrition is, and so I talked about doing some sort of counseling session where registered dietitians or even mental health counselors came in and spoke with parents and showed them the long-lasting and detrimental impact of lacking nutrients such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, and things such as that. So just showing them the severity and importance and why they should be taking it seriously now, because it will positively impact their child later.
Do you have ideas of how to evaluate that in the future to see if that's actually working and actually if parents or whoever is getting educated on this?
It would have to be a controlled group, maybe one school district at a time, and if that were implemented, you could do questionnaires with the parents, evaluate them with one-on-one interviews, as well as you could measure rates of obesity and overweight in that school as compared to before the implementation versus maybe 5 years, 10 years after.
So one of my concerns in